So I'm not opposed to that.
Councilman Reeves.
I am for a June recess.
Councilman Sebastian.
I am for a recess as well. I would also want to suggest that we look at July 2 so 1 month at a time. Without, looking at the calendar. For me, honestly, I've had a vacation in 2+ years, so I was looking forward to my family vacation this year, but it looked as if council meeting might prevent me from having that vacation, unless we can move the council meeting up out of the last week of July. So,
I will say July is hard, Councilman Sebastian, because our fiscal year begins in October, and so late July, August is usually when they begin the budget planning. And I think having a month off from us for June will also probably help staff run all those numbers, because we are going to have a very interesting budget year.
and that's fine, Mayor. I'll make it work. I was just putting it on the table.
Although I hope we get to a 2-month summer break. We're going to be a little European around here in a few years. Councilwoman Willis.
I mean, I was going to propose June and July because if you think about it, Ms. Sadler-Jones had asked for us to give staff approximately a 2-month reprieve to kind of catch up on all of the ordinances that we have passed and get them effectuated. There were things that have been passed, but they haven't had any time to really get them in place and effectuate them properly. Now, what we have done, when we have done this, if something pressing comes up, then we always can call a special call meeting. I mean, that would be my suggestion.
Okay, we got 1, 2, 3 for counting myself for June and July. Dr. Rao, don't blow it.
I actually agree. The only thing I'm not clear about, how does it affect all the zonings? That would be my only concern. The calendar, I know we pre-schedule it, and will we have to have a special meeting at least for those? I'm just not clear. And I mean, Ms. Kiefer, can you speak to that?
Have meetings, then that would put those final decisions on hold. And then, of course, if we still had planning commission meetings during then, then they would just be pushed to August. But that is a hiatus in getting final decisions for those.
Can I ask, based on what you see in the pipeline, would you anticipate a lot or maybe not so much? I mean, if I think about you saying 8 just for 1 month, we could possibly have 16 or more when we return. I mean, maybe, and if we did, maybe it's a special call meeting just to deal with it.
With zoning. Yeah, we could do that. There's a lot of activity, so okay. We don't have any definite applications at this point, but yeah, there's a lot of activity.
Based on what she said, I'm in concurrence. I think June and July recess is a good thing.
Okay. All right. Well, all in favor for a June and July recess?
That's a negative for me.
Yes.
Yes.
Second.
Oh, I moved to for June, July recess per the recommendation of the mayor.
All right. It's been properly moved and seconded. Mr. Clerk, please call the vote.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao?
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes?
Yes.
Councilmember Willis?
Yes, I didn't mean to vote with Councilman Gomes. She stepped out for a minute. I thought he realized that. I'm sorry.
Councilmember Sebastian?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves?
Nay.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
That item is approved.
This is me shouting on the inside. Mr. Clerk, please call the next item.
Are we at Parks and Rec yet?
Next item
Can we have a vote?
is item 27. Second reading of an ordinance of the City of South Fulton, Georgia, to be known as the Johnny Tobert Heat Injury Ordinance.
Council.
And Title 11, Parks and Recreation, Chapter 6, Miscellaneous, to require water vessels to be used in the event of a heat-related emergency and for other lawful purposes. This is sponsored by Councilmember Willis. This is second reading.
Councilwoman Willis.
Thank you for recognizing me, Mayor, and I spoke with my colleagues and you, and Attorney Spence was anticipated to be here at 7:25 based on the time on your agenda, so he isn't here yet, so I'm going to ask Ms. Wright to come up and speak briefly on this legislation. This is Johnny Taubert's mother.
Or we can hold it to 7:25 if you want. We've got plenty
Okay,
of items.
Ms. Wright, would you prefer us to hold it until Attorney Spence gets here? Okay, you can come on. She said that's okay.
Alrighty.
I didn't want to. It's kind of emotional. And you may remove your mask if you would like. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Pull this up some.
Can someone help her raise her mic if you don't mind? Ms. Wright, I know this is an emotional topic for you, but I want to thank you and thank you for your tenacity and your due diligence. And I'm going to allow you to present this to council and explain your trenches and why you feel that this ordinance is important for us to pass it in the city.
First, I would like to say thank you for bringing this to the table. My name is Tartithia Wright. I'm asking that we do bring the water vessels to Fulton County parks. My son actually lost his life on one of the parks, which was Welcome All Park, due to a heat stroke out there on that park. It's been 6 years. I have been fighting for 6 years. I'm going to continue to fight for 6 more, or however more years I have to fight. It's not just for my child, it's for other kids too. I can't say that the water vessels will save all the kids at the park, but I can say it will at least help until the paramedics get there. When you have coaches out there that are standing there if a child pass out and not know what to do, it's unacceptable. When you have parents out there that's not knowing what to do because we are putting our kids' lives in coaches' hands, and with them standing there and not knowing what to do, we don't know what to do. We are trusting these coaches. Teen moms standing out there that don't know what to do. If we can just please get these water vessels on the park for little Johnny and for the rest of our kids that are playing these sports. It's not just about football. Like I heard the parents over here talking about the young girls playing kickball. You never know. Somebody else's child can be out there playing kickball and have a heat stroke. I don't want that to happen. I don't want no parent to feel what I have felt and what I'm still feeling. I'm still grieving to this day, and I'm trying to look out for all our kids, all our parents. So please just take it into consideration. And Councilwoman Helen, I want to say thank you. Thank you very much for bringing it to the table.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. I have been on this quest with Ms. Wright and Attorney Myra Davis and Attorney Spence and House Rep Bodie for 3 years as well. I've spoken every hearing at the Capitol. I won't go into some of the silly reasons, but it's political, why they didn't make this a state mandate. But Georgia has the top 10% deaths as it relates to heat-related injuries. Johnny, when he waited 20 minutes for the EMT to arrive, when he got to the hospital, his body temperature rose to 103 degrees, and he laid in a coma for 2 weeks before, he transitioned. And what was said, and we had people to come that are very familiar with this topic is that we had this water vessel and coaches trained to deal with the heat-related injury, he may still be with us. Thank you. I ask at this time, Mayor and Council, if we could approve this measure.
All right, thank you. So sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
And I will entertain a motion to approve this ordinance.
I move that we approve the Johnny Tobert heat-related injury ordinance.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, Mr. Clerk, please call the vote.
Roll call vote to approve. Councilmember Rao. Councilmember Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Sebastian.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
That item is approved unanimously.
Thank you. Thank
Mayor, this is the first.
Next item under, please sound the next item, Mr. Clerk.
Next item is item 28. Request council approval authorizing the city manager and other city officials to execute an agreement between the city of South Fulton, Georgia, on behalf of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs Department and 25 and older Incorporated doing business as Play SSK Incorporated for the provision of youth and adult kickball at Welcome Park. This item was held at the March 22nd council meeting, Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs.
Mayor,
I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve, but I have discussion.
Second.
Discussion, Councilwoman Willis.
So it's important that we are transparent and we don't embellish the truth. This ordinance, the program was never an issue. It's a great program, and as a female who was once a teenager and played sports, I will always support female sport programs. This ordinance, the process when people bring programs to our park and recreation is to bring it before this body and approve agreements. So the comments about it's sad and it's a no-brainer, you know, this is government, and we have to, this body is to govern and approve all contracts and all agreements before it's effectuated. What was the reason it was pulled off of the consent agenda, because the person who owns this kickball team also sits on our development authority. And what I wanted to make sure of is we sit on the city council, and as city council persons, we can't do business with our city. It is called a conflict of interest. And so when you have people sitting on development authorities, they are operating as separate entities of our development authorities. So what I wanted to be sure of and make sure we do our due diligence to make sure that the person who's over this organization, who serves as a South Fulton Development Authority Commissioner, is not in conflict with having an agreement, a direct agreement with our city to operate this program. I consulted with our city attorney, and our city attorney has said there's no conflict. And I want him to go on record. Didn't you say that?
I'm not going to go into specific advice I gave you, but I think that's why it's here for approval today.
Thank you. So that is my discussion. It was seconded. You could call for the vote.
I got
Please. Thank you.
I got it. Properly moved and seconded. Seeing no other discussion, Mr. Clerk, please call for the vote.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao. Councilmember Willis. Councilmember Sebastian.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
That item is approved unanimously.
Mr. Clerk, please sound the next item.
Next item is item 29 under
Before
Public
we,
Works.
before we do that, Mayor, no, since it is 6:30 and we are past our intermission time, I was going to move that we recess for 15 minutes. Aren't we at Parks and Recreation? No, we're at Public Works.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more items.
Okay, but we're finished with the Parks and Rec section, right?
Yes, we are finished with Parks and Rec.
And then, okay, so,
So we have a motion on the floor to take a 10, can we do 10?
Yes.
A 10-minute intermission?
that's fine. I was looking at the agenda, which says 6:25 PM intermission, 15 minutes.
There we go. So we have a motion and a second for the 10-minute intermission. Any discussion? Councilwoman Willis? Okay. All right, then, Mr. Clerk, please call for the vote.
Councilmember Rao? Councilmember Willis?
Yes.
Councilmember Sebastian?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves? Aye. Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
That motion is approved. We are recessed
We
at
are recessed.
6:30.
We are recessed for 10 Protestant Republican minutes. We will be back here at 6:40. Thank you.
Why didn't you comment? Why chase away comment? Why did you chase?
6:42. We have 4 council members on stage. We have a quorum. Please sound the next item. Or do we need to,
Reconvene.
I'll take a motion to re-adjourn.
Reconvene.
Reconvene, sorry. Going once, going twice. Is there a motion to reconvene? We don't have a quorum. We do. There are 4 of us on stage right now. I'm going to go for one more motion before we adjourn the meeting. No, really, I need a motion to reconvene. All right.
Move to reconvene.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Mr. Clerk, please call the vote.
Councilmember Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Sebastian.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
We are reconvened at 6:43 p.m.
Thank you. Should have took those whole 15 minutes. Mr. Clerk, please sound the vote. Please sound the next item.
Next item, item 29 under Public Works. This is request council approval of a resolution of the City of South Fulton, Georgia, authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute all appropriate documents that would grant an underground utility easement across 4255 Will Lee Road, South Fulton, Georgia, 30349, land lots 152 and 157 of District 9 of Fulton County, Georgia, also known as Welcome All Park, to Georgia Power Company for the purpose of installing underground power distribution facilities in an amount not to exceed $6,000 and for the lawful purposes, sponsored by Councilmember Willis.
I move that we approve this measure.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Mr. Clerk, please call the vote.
Roll call vote, Councilmember Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Sebastian.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams. That item is approved.
Please sound the next item.
Next item is item 30, request council approval of a resolution of the City of South Fulton, Georgia, authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute all appropriate documents that would grant an underground utility easement across 5165 Welcome All Road, South Fulton, Georgia, 30349, land lot 126 of District 9F of Fulton County, Georgia, also known as Welcome All Park, to Georgia Power Company for the purpose of installing underground power distribution facilities in an amount not to exceed $2,500 and for the lawful purposes, sponsored by Councilmember Willis.
I move that we approve this measure.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded. Mr. Clerk, please call the vote.
Roll call vote, Councilmember Rao.
Item 29.
30.
Item 30,
Yes.
Councilmember Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Sebastian.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams. That item is approved unanimously.
Please sound the next item.
Next item is item 31, request council approval to authorize staff to utilize the professional service exception to select Robert & Company to perform design and construction management services needed to design and install a new gas and diesel fueling station at the Plumber Road Fire Station for a total amount not to exceed $111,950 to be funded from the Public Works Department FY 2022 operating budget.
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Mr. Clerk, please call the vote.
Roll call vote, Councilmember Rao. Councilmember Willis. Councilmember Sebastian.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
That item is approved unanimously.
Mr. Please sound the next item.
Next item is item 32, request council approval to authorize staff to select ARS Mechanical LLC as lowest most responsive and responsible bidder in response to ITB 22-012 and authorize staff to enter into a service agreement with ARS Mechanical LLC to perform HVAC replacement and installation at the Sandtown Gym for an amount not to exceed $158,665 to be funded by URA funding.
I move
entertain
to
a motion.
approve ARC Mechanical LLC to perform HVAC installation and replacement.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded. please call the vote.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Sebastian.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves. Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
That item is approved unanimously.
Please sound the next item.
Next item is item 33. Request council approval to authorize staff to utilize Garland Roofing to perform the repairs to the structural steel components for the roofing above the pool at Welcome All Park Recreation Center in the amount of $1,333,473 to be funded from prior year reserves.
I move that we approve this measure.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? I do have discussion. I have no intention of vetoing this at all. I just want to know, was this not included in the URA?
It was not, and I'll let Mr. Antonio Valenzuela explain that to you, and then I also want him to specifically also explain the price, because it's my understanding the $1 million is an initial amount, but it may be more than that.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager, and residents of the City of South Fulton. With regards to this change order, it was not budgeted under the URA. We only had the roofs, but this is an emergency that it was just discovered once we started fixing the roofs. And the dollar amount that you have listed right here, it was budgeted, it was estimated as on last Friday. The dollar amount is much more higher than what is listed, but it's an emergency that was just discovered. So I have the engineer of records here that can provide you any answers perhaps to the questions that you may have, because this is a much more detailed issue that we must resolve in order to continue with the roofing at the swimming pool at the Welcome All Center.
All right, thank you. I mean, buildings need roofs. This is not, I mean, it's not debatable, and I definitely want our championship swim team to have a roof. However, this is one of the reasons that I'm asking for us to have this URA meeting. So I just want to caution Public Works, Parks, if there are any other emergencies that we need to discover before we go on this 2-month recess or have this URA meeting, I just want to make sure that everything that we need, if we're going over budget, we've spent our URA money, that we bring that all to the table on May 10th. So if there's any checking that we need to do of other facilities, I just want to make sure that we don't have any more $1 million surprises. With that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Rao.
I would like a little bit more information as it relates to, because what you're saying is that the motion that we've made may be insufficient to address the need. So giving us some more information on that. But secondly, just to clarify, with the URA, those are projects that are already approved, and we know that beyond that 17 million, we have about $50 million needed in repairs. So I just want us to be transparent. We know we have a lot of facility needs that we have to address, and we have to find money or pull from other sources, which is why we're faced with this decision right here.
That's correct, and the reason why is that we discussed it before, you are in the past, and we have talked about phase 1 on projects that were approved before by council, and phase 2 on additional funding that was left for additional projects that are under design and to be led perhaps in the summer or the fall of this year. But when it comes to unforeseen conditions, it's kind of real difficult for us to forecast what is above the ceiling and below the ceiling. The only way that we could find this was taking the roof out and actually going into the scaffolding and assessing the trusses right there. While we initially looked at, and it was supposed to be just a corrosion item, but once you get onto the roof and you actually take everything out, you discover that it's not just smaller things that need to be done. So this is a safety, life safety threatening for our residents and users, and unfortunately appears to be a bigger amount of funds that we are requesting, but that's what it will take to get the proper responses to the roof. That we don't want to have it and just neglect what we have seen it. But with that said, I will like to have the engineer here to explain in more detail everything that we've done and what will be coming up on that venue, because the actual estimated and better trust on the dollar amount, it's forthcoming. It just doesn't take a couple of days to come up with a dollar when the situation was just discovered last Thursday. So we have professional engineers, we have structural engineers looking at writing up all the details and plans on how we're going to resolve this issue. And we don't want to, as you stated, we don't want to continue pushing the opening of the Welcome Center. So the area of lots of concerns is the area above the swimming pool.
All right, Councilman Reeves.
Mr. Valenzuela, do you remember a company named Cherry Street Partners?
Yes, I do.
And was Welcome All one of the targets selected for them to conduct some work on the roof for solar panels?
What I recall with Cherry Street was that they entered into an agreement to provide solar panels on Welcome All and Sandtown. Public Works' position was those roofs are not in a position to install anything at that time.
Were they in a position, or did Cherry Street do an inspection on those roofs and give you an inspection report?
No, their specialty is solar installations.
Okay, and Welcome All just went under a complete roof renovation, correct?
It is going under 3 types of roofs, replacements and others inside the venue.
So in their assessment, you telling me they missed the trust issue?
It's not that they missed it. It was discovered upon having the scaffolding on the roofs and taking the roofs out. The trusses support the roofs, and you can't just see it. You cannot forecast it. You actually have to go out to the roof and take the roofs out, get the scaffolding right there, and start looking at the trusses and item by item. And that's when our engineers discover that the damage that it is on the trusses is not just a simple paint job that needs to be redone.
And by your own words and your statements, you just said that Sandtown or Welcome All was in no condition to put those solar panels on. So did y'all make a condition assessment before?
That's correct. The conditions, the roofs were assessed. That's why we didn't recommend installation of solar panels until we have proper roofs.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Willis.
So, I did speak with Mr. Valenzuela about this issue prior to the meeting. It was brought to my attention. These buildings are over 20 years old, and we inherited these buildings and infrastructures from the county, and we know they didn't invest and upkeep these infrastructures. There are going to be many unforeseen circumstances as we go in and renovate and restore our buildings. And so to, I guess, set the expectation that a lot of the stuff should have been known up front is not a realistic. And so at the end of the day, it's going to have to be done. We need to get it done. We need to get our kids, our championship swimmers, back in our facility so they don't have to continue to figure out where they're going to practice and where they're going to be able to continue to have tournaments when needed. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, Councilwoman, no one is going to stop this from going forward. I understand that there are unforeseen circumstances. I do just have to express my frustration, my anxiety that, you know, it seems like maybe every week, maybe every other week, there's a bridge or there's a roof or there's and if there is something that we can do, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a contractor, but if there is some kind of more thorough inspection than what we already did when we had all these people out for our URA, if there is some kind of more thorough inspection and assessment that we can do of all of our facilities, and if we just need to build in a very liberal budget, I mean, I guess it's good that we have these reserves and that's, you know, what they're for, but it just makes me a little anxious when I open my emails and I see, you know, there's a $1 million roof issue, or there is a bridge that we fixed 2 years ago and we're fixing again because the other side is fault. I mean, it's just a lot. There's just a lot of these sorts of things that are showing up on our agenda, and it gives me some pause. Council Member Williams.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. One of the things that I know as a homeowner that's had to do some repairs, my house was built in '95, is you don't know what you don't know until you start doing the work and you see what you're working with. And so, while I understand that we would all like to have these things known up front, I know from my own personal experience, you know, having to replace a water heater, because a water heater, you know, I have a leak, I need a water heater, but it's not until the water heater is out of the water closet that anyone can see that there's mold in the wall behind the water heater. No way to see it when you open the door because the water heater is blocking it. No way to see it from the outside of the house through the siding. And I think that as we go through the process of fixing our buildings, whether it be putting in a roof or a floor or a water heater or whatever we're trying to do, there's some things that until you take it apart, you cannot see with the naked eye, even with an inspection. I don't think you're going to be able to see it. And so I want to just have some level set expectations that, as Councilwoman Willis said, we are trying to remediate problems that have been long-standing, 20, probably in some cases 30 years, because of the neglect of the South Fulton area over the years, in the de-investment that began in the 70s with white flight and everything that comes beyond that. So I just want us to have some level set expectations that we are probably going to continue for some time to open up our emails and have surprise $1 million problems, because there was no way for them to see I'm going to call them beams, but I know they're not beams, but there's no way to see the steel beams with the roof on top of them. You have to take the roof off to see that there's a problem. Even if the best inspector, you still got to take the roof off to see a problem. Thank you.
Thank you. And Council Member Sebastian.
I do agree with my colleagues in terms of this is an emergency type situation, and yes, there were lack of investment and upkeep with a lot of our facilities. And in a past life, I actually worked in that industry, so I know that sometimes you take off a roof and you don't know what you're going to find underneath. And once you do that, you have to go into the repairs that are needed. However, I am hoping that, you know, as we go further down the road, the mayor mentioned the bridge that was in District 4 that we had to repair 2 years ago and then a couple of weeks ago. We're still going to have to replace that one completely eventually, because that one was built with wooden support, and it's in my district. I pass there very often, and you could see the wood rotting away and falling underneath of it. I mention all that to say that at some point, we really need some sort of comprehensive report as to the status of all the assets that we have across the city, so that we can look where we can at what we need to prioritize and what we do not. If that is available now, I haven't seen it. I would love to see it if it's available. But if not, I think that's one of the things that we have to do as a city. Look at all our assets and make some sort of determination as to what needs to be priority and what can wait. Because yes, the mayor is right. None of us want to have these emails coming along and all of a sudden it's $1 million that we have to spend on something. So as much as we can reduce those surprises, I think it'll make all of us feel better. Thank you.
Councilman Reeves.
Mr. Valenzuela, how many beams are going to be replaced?
The beams are not going to be replaced.
No beams, just the
right.
internal
The
truss
trusses, and I can have our engineer here to provide you a more detail of what it is. If you don't mind, just allow him 5 minutes so he can discuss in more detail.
Please, yes. And for those who keep saying this is an emergency, we have a lot of emergencies that's going on. It's just some of them, people don't show up for 2 weeks to the job site to fix. But yes, sir, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Brick Grisham. I'm with the Garland Company. So to answer your original question, fortunately, we're not replacing any beams, but what we are doing, and I don't know how well you can see the pictures from where you are, but as Antonio indicated, when we were removing the roof, we were not only removing the roof, but we were removing the metal decking, which is under the roof. The metal decking sits on top of the trusses or beams or whatever you want to call them. And when the original assessment was made on Welcome All Park and how we determined that the roof needed to be replaced, we actually had a structural engineer go through and make sure that all of the beams from the inside, from where you can see, because anybody that's been inside of Welcome All Park, of course you've got a swimming pool and then you've got a ceiling that's maybe 35 feet high. So you have very limited access to those beams by doing an assessment. So when the roofing project was started, we again removed the roof, removed the skylight, and removed the metal decking. When that metal decking was replaced, we had full access to those beams because scaffolding was built. We emptied the pool and we built up the scaffolding to where you could walk on top of the scaffolding and have full access to those beams. It was during that time that we were able to see within inches the extent of corrosion that was on those beams. And I don't know how much you can tell by looking at the picture, but it turned from being a concern because when the original assessment was made, you could see rust marks coming down the walls and you can see rust marks on the structure. But when you're looking at that from 35 feet down, and then of course spanning over the pool as well, we made a recommendation of, hey, you guys might want to think about doing a structural assessment and a design to where we can go in and pretty much sandblast everything that needed to be done. And what we did not know at the time was to the extent of how much that needed to be done. Now we know. And we know because we have access. And you can go up and look at any of those intersections and see the extent. It's not even rust. It's the metal is flaking. And of course, that third-party engineer came back out. He was there on Friday, because like Antonio said, we found this out on Thursday, which is when they removed the decking. I went out to do my inspection. I halted the job, said, hey, we got to take a closer look at this. The structural engineer came out and determined that this is a life safety issue and it's got to be addressed.
Are you Mr. Garland?
I'm not. I don't own Garland. I'm the area manager for the Garland Company.
And how long have you been doing this, sir?
7 years.
7 years. Is this your first incident or case of working with a similar situation like this?
There was a similar situation with Clayton County over a pool at Virginia Gray.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
All right. Seeing no other questions, believe that we are done with discussion, and I will call for the vote.
Yes, we have a motion by Councilmember Willis, seconded by Councilmember Rao to approve item 33. Roll call vote, Councilmember Rao.
I want to say yes, but I thought he said it was a different amount. Is that the right amount?
No, ma'am. Antonio, will you clarify what the dollar amount is?
The initial was a rough estimate. That was as on Friday. Our consultants are going to provide to us the final estimate. Will you say by Friday? We have it by tomorrow, but we're going to negotiate the price. I'm going to go item by item. They know already that I'll be looking for every single item, but what we were told is going to be under $1.8 million. So we're requesting that our city manager will have the authority to execute the agreement once we have review all the items that they're going to provide to us, and then provide to the city manager and the council the detail change order from the consultant. Otherwise, if we have to wait 2 more weeks, there will be more delays under the same dollar amount and so on.
So I'm confused. Is this? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to amend it then based on what he said, that the city manager be able to negotiate up to amount not to exceed 1.8 million.
Yes, ma'am.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. Mr. Clerk, please call the vote.
A motion to approve the item as amended. Councilmember Rao?
Yes.
Councilmember Gums?
Yes.
Councilmember Willis?
Yes.
Councilmember Sebastian?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams? That item is approved unanimously as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Please sound the next item.
Next item is item 34 under Administration and Finance. Request council approval of a resolution by the South Fulton City Council to declare a vacancy in the City Council District 7 seat, to call and conduct a special election on November 8, 2022, to elect a successor to fill the unexpired term of the District 7 City Council seat, to conduct a runoff election, if necessary, to be held December 6, 2022, to set qualifying dates and fees, and for other lawful purposes.
I move that we take the staff's recommendation and approve the resolution to declare a vacancy in the city of South Fulton District 7 seat, and to call for a special election on November 8th and a potential runoff to be held if necessary on December 6, 2022.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, Mr. Clerk, please call the vote.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao?
Yes.
Councilmember Gums?
Yes.
Councilmember Willis? Yes. Councilmember Sebastian?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams? That item is approved unanimously.
All right, Mr. Clerk, please sound the next item.
Next item is item 35, first reading of an ordinance to authorize the city manager to execute certain contracts and agreements on behalf of the city previously approved and adopted by the City Council and for the lawful purposes. This is the first reading, sponsored by Councilmember Willis.
It's the first read. I don't have anything to say at this time.
All right, seeing no other discussion, Mr. Clerk, please sound the next item.
Next item is item 36. This is also a first reading of an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2022 budget for General Fund and American Rescue Plan of the City of South Fulton, Georgia, appropriating the amounts showing in each fund as expenditures/expenses, adopting the several items of revenue anticipations, prohibiting expenditures or expenses from exceeding the actual funding available, and for other lawful purposes. This is Budget Amendment number 2, and this is the first reading.
All right, it is the first read, but I do have a couple of questions, Madam City Manager, if you do not mind. The first one I asked you about earlier today, I know that that report on the first tranche of spending is due April 30th. I just wanted to know where we were on that.
Yes, we will make sure that we have all required reporting documents submitted for the American Rescue Plan money. And then we are expected to get our second bucket of money May 1st. That is going to be $5.6 million for a total of 11.3.
Perfect. I learned about TAP projects, transportation alternatives. There is $22 million given under the bipartisan infrastructure bill, and GDOT can actually, I learned about this at the GDOT meeting this month, that they can actually administer those funds if we do not have the capacity to administer them. So I don't know if we have applied for those TAP funds, but if not, I would be very interested in doing that, just hearing some of the infrastructure issues that we do have. Do you know if we had applied for those, or are you aware of that?
I'm not familiar with that one. Mr. Valenzuela, are you?
I'll make sure that you get that. And without, oh, do you have information about that, Mr. Valenzuela?
No, I don't have information on that, but when the funds are available from GDOT, no from the state, we're going through the funds that are appropriate for the city. Just keep in mind that every time that we use federal funds, you must design, acquire the rights way, and build the project in accordance with federal funds. And that also requires 20% match from the city, as well as it's a 5 to 6 years process on approvals and others. At this point, we have 3 projects that have federal funds, and the others we have not applied because we're using TIS plus funds on most of our projects.
Right. So that I know that is usually the case. And that may be the case in this instance, but my understanding from the presentation I saw at the GDOT board meeting is that this is akin to ARPA funds that are going directly to municipalities. Instead of going through the county, they're going through the state, they're going through GDOT. And they're specifically for infrastructure projects. And if a city is not capable, GDOT can administer these projects on their behalf. So I would just ask you to research that. And the final question, I know that I'm going to say that, but I do have a final, since this is the first read, I will just ask you later about this last question I have. Dr. Rao.
For comments? Were you asking for?
Yes.
Okay. Just a couple updates. May 19th from
Oh, no. We're not there yet.
Oh, okay.
We're doing, I thought you had a comment or a question about the budget amendment number 2.
No.
Okay. All right. That being said, we go ahead and you can sound the next item.
Next item is council comments. 2 minutes each.
Okay.
All right, go ahead, Dr. Rao. Sorry about that.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank all the volunteers who came out for the Earth Day activities. We had 3 projects going on in District 1 this past Saturday. It was a little crazy, but it was a lot of fun. We had the Cascade cleanup. We completed the mural project at Sandtown Park, and we opened our newest park in the city in partnership with the Southeast Trust for Parks and Land, which is on Riverside Drive. So we had a really exciting weekend this weekend in terms of projects that completed. So thank you for those who came out. On May 19th at Sandtown Pub from 6 to 8, we have Cookie with the Cop. Come on out and engage with our local officers and connect with your neighbors. Those are, and one more. On May 2nd, in partnership with QLS, we're going to have COVID-19 vaccines from 10 to 3 p.m. If you haven't got your vaccine or booster, please take advantage of this opportunity. Thank you.
All right, District 2, Councilwoman Gums. Oh, she's not here. District 3, Councilwoman Willis.
I want to thank you to Ms. Shirley for bringing the Stop the Violence rally to Welcome All Park this weekend, even though it did not stop the violence. I want to send out condolences to Malik Hambrick family. He was a young man who lost his life in Welcome All. I was present. It was unfortunate. It was traumatizing, and I will tell you that that is not who we are. That is not who we strive to be. And when we go in executive session, one of the things that I will be addressing with Ms. Sally Jones is, I'm not talking in detail, but one of the things that we are going to have to discuss is personnel and security in our parks, because that can't ever happen again. I don't ever want to see someone lose their life. I don't ever want to see somebody lose their life in front of their mother. And in any of our parks, not just Welcome All, but any of our parks. This is who we are. On Saturday, April 30th, we will have a family fun day at Welcome All Park. It is the Marquise Grissom Baseball Association. If you don't know who Marquise Grissom is, he is a baseball legend who was responsible for clinching the Atlanta Braves their first national championship. So, and he is from here. He was born and raised in South Fulton, and he grew up playing baseball in the very park he is now teaching other kids. Was that accurate?
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Okay.
We got a little time tonight.
And then Red Oak Community Cleanup is April 30th. Also, so if you want to come out and help us clean up the Red Oak Historic District, which will be Roosevelt Highway and some areas in the Red Oak District, come out. We will have the sheriff office out there helping us, and hopefully some other public safety departments from our city out there helping us, and many volunteers. And then, of course, then you can head over to Wolf Creek Amphitheater and join in the 5-year festivities. Thank you so much for all who called to check on me, and your support and your prayers. And we're all in this together, and we will get through this together.
All right, taking it back to District 2, Councilwoman Gums.
Thank you, Mayor, for recognizing me. First, I want to say thank you to all of the residents that came out for our Earth Day activities over the weekend. We actually had our Wolf Creek walking trail and Eden Road corridor. We were cleaning up in that area, and so a lot of residents did come out and supported the efforts. I do want to say a special thank you to Puro Clean. He is actually a business owner in the city of South Fulton and lives in the district. He provided us volunteer luncheon, and then also too for Commissioner Arrington, as well as the city of South Fulton Public Works, as far as helping us with supplies and things of that nature. So I do want to say thank you for that. Also too, I want to do a special shout out to Leak Made It Incorporated. They are a group that have adopted a youth group that have adopted a couple of streets in the city of South Fulton. They actually go out over the weekend and they clean up the corridor, Van Diver, Union Road, over by the Westlake area. They are a group of Westlake students, so I do want to thank them and commend them. They also helped me with my TikTok game, so I'm trying to get better at that. So a TikTok is coming near you. We also did, on Earth Day, we did some filming for our litter campaign, so that is also coming up. One more. Want to give a special shout out to, of course, y'all know Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, the wonderful ladies. It was about 8,000 women that were in College Park in the city of South Fulton last weekend, spending all of their money. I do want to thank Councilwoman Rao. We both were able to attend the press conference with some of the national leaders, and we also offered a proclamation on behalf of the city of South Fulton. So that was one of a moment that we will etch in history on behalf of Alpha Kappa Alpha. And lastly, I do want to say, please make sure that you all are following the leash law for your dogs. I am reading on Nextdoor all the time about your dogs are missing. I'm seeing dogs running around in the community. Please make sure that you know that the city of South Fulton has a leash law, and we need to make sure that your dogs are on a leash, and they also have the curb your dogs. So please stop letting your dogs poop in your neighbor's yard. Of course, that's something that I had to deal with when I came here. So just letting you know that is at the top of mind today. So please follow our ordinances. Have a good evening.
District 4, Councilman Sebastian. Thank you.
Thank you for recognizing me, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I want to say thank you to all those community leaders that came out to our community advisory group breakfast this past Saturday. It was really encouraging to see so many faces in the room who are interested in helping to move District 4 forward. Also wanted to say thank you to our fire and police department to Fulton County. We held 2 vaccination events in my district in the last month or so. Also wanted to thank Public Works and Jacobs. I know I've been calling on you guys a lot. District 4 is large, and we have a lot of infrastructure that's on paved roads and all this sort of stuff that need attention. So I'm just asking you to continue to bear with me as the citizens will come and request some of these things to have them repaired. This Friday, we're having a coffee with a cop at the Village Shops at City Grove, 6500 Lynn Markway, from 10 a.m. until noon. So come out and engage with our men and women of the police department and learn something. I learn something almost every time I talk to our police. So thank you, and looking forward to seeing you guys there. Also, our district newsletter, first edition, is coming out this week. So look forward for that. And if you have not signed up yet, feel free to email the office and get signed up for it. Lastly, I want to say congratulations to the citizens, the leaders, the founders, and the people who have served in this government as we approach our 5th year anniversary. Thank you for what you have done and the sacrifices that you've made and contributed so far to our young city. I look forward to continuing to working with each and every one to make our city the best it can be. So thank you once again, and happy 5th anniversary, City of South Fulton.
Perfect timing. Happy 5, District 5.
Can you just say that one more time? Just one more time.
Happy 5,
I'm
District
trying
5.
to tell you. So as we do turn 5, I'm just going to say this. So just hashtag your hand and just say, I got 5 on it, and say happy birthday to the city of South Fulton. And yes, indeed. And so thank you, everybody who came out for the free tree giveaway that myself and Representative Mandisha A. Thomas held, and my colleague too, Dr. Natasha Williams. And so as we gave out approximately 300 trees, thank you, City Manager, that was, appreciate you. And so into our tree fund. And for everybody who just did that, and it was a wonderful turnout. And as we celebrate this week and go to making history, we'll be back here Thursday. And then back in, well, out into Wolf Creek Amphitheater from 12 until 8:30. But after that, oh yes, get dressed and come on out to the wrap party at the Blue Marlin Bistro, because we will be doing a carnival style, I'm saying, till 2 a.m. And there will be a toast at midnight. We'll tell you what it is when you get there. And so, happy birthday to the city of South Fulton. And I will tell you always, I love you and you can't do anything about it. I got 5 on it.
The one and the only Councilman Corey Reeves. District 6, Councilwoman Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. In keeping with my fellow council members, I would like to thank everyone who came out to the Old National District cleanup for Earth Day last Saturday. I particularly want to thank Teresa Parham, our Old National District Manager, and Sherry Phillips, who is the newly elected Vice President of the Old National District. And in news that I'm sure will make Councilmember Rowell and Councilwoman Gums happy, I would like to thank Sherry's chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated for coming out to assist with the cleanup. But of course, I would be remiss if I did not thank the ladies of my sorority, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, who also showed up. And to all of the candidates and campaigns who also turned out, thank you for coming. I appreciate your work and your cooperation and your input. And I hope that this is not the one and only time that I will see you coming to help keep trash off of Old National Highway. We have quite a bit of it, and as I said on site, many hands make light work. So those of you who were candidates that were campaigning, you know who you are. You're invited back to come continue the work of keeping Old National clean. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Williams. We have a PS from Councilman Reeves.
Yes, and I would be remiss as happy Administrative Professionals Day, and shout out to my General, Tamiko Leverage.
Alrighty. Thank you for that, Councilman Reeves. It reminds me to say first a happy birthday to our Dr. Rowell. She celebrated her birthday this weekend. Happy birthday, Dr. Rowell. The first dog and I made it out to as many Earth Day events as we can. We are still learning our new city beyond Old National, and I really do have to say it is so beautiful. I had no idea, Councilwoman Gums, that Wolf Creek Trail was just so beautiful. Or, Dr. Rowell, the Campbellton Creek Nature Park, it is really something to see. Special shout out to Mountain Bikes of Atlanta and the Trust, Southeastern Trust for Parks and Land for putting that together. Also, of course, for the Old National Merchants Association, the council people and the Go Green communities that cleaned up at Old National. I want to give a shout out to Old National Entertainment and our Parks and Recs Department for our 3rd annual Spring Extravaganza. If you haven't seen it, it is something to see adults participating in an Easter egg hunt for $100 eggs, acting just like children. It was just really great. It was really fun. And for the 3rd year in a row, it was safe. And for that, I want to give a special shout out to this gentleman here to stage left. He is Lieutenant Nick Williams. He and our park rangers, go ahead and give him a hand. We got about 17 parks in this city and 5 park rangers. And whenever we're having an event, which seems to be every weekend, Nick and the park rangers are there, and they come to our council meetings, and they have time to do, other shifts. So I just want to thank the hardest working park rangers department in the United States here. And I want to give another special shout out to our city chaplain, Warren L. Henry Sr., who is also the pastor of Kingdom of God International Ministries. When that awful shooting happened, it happened right across the street from his church. I see it right across the street from his church, and he kept that church open until after dark for the families, for everyone who just needed a word or a moment of comfort and solace. So I just want to thank him for being an amazing pastor for our city. I showed up, city manager Jones showed up, and the former mayor, Mr. Edwards, showed up. And what that shows me is that when it matters most, our city will always come together. So I want to thank everybody who came out to that. Chief Meadows as well. 2 quick things. Return to the source. I'm going to try and use our little camera here, trying to use our technology. We have a week of performances, choreographers, workshops, and master's classes, also celebrating our city anniversary. And you've heard about the events on Thursday, on Saturday, and on Saturday night. I do want to invite you to one more event. I am starting a town hall series called Courageous Conversations, where we're going to take a look at issues that are happening in our city, but that have a national focus, and we're going to just take a deep dive into that. This week, this month's town hall is guns, masks, and vaccine mandates. We're going to talk about the line between personal liberty and public safety. Joining us will be our police chief, Keith Meadows, as well as Dr. Lynn Paxton and ACLU political director Christopher Bruce, Representative Park Cannon, and DeKalb County Commissioner Ted Terry, who has, in the light of this new constitutional carry guns everywhere bill, is looking at some progressive legislation in DeKalb County. So we'll be talking about all of that. For all of these events and others, you can always text the word Fulton to 33777 to sign up for my newsletter and mobile alerts. And with that, I believe we are concluding this meeting 1 hour ahead of schedule. This may be a city council record, at least for this administration. So we're going to keep this party going quickly and efficiently. Back in executive session. With that, I will take a motion to adjourn for executive session, or a motion to go to executive session.
Mr. Mayor, I want to move that we go into executive session for personnel litigation and real estate.
So moved.
Properly moved and seconded. All, go ahead.
Yeah, roll call vote. Councilmember Rao?
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes?
Yes.
Councilmember Williams? Councilmember Sebastian?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
We are recessed at 7:34 p.m.